If you were watching the men's short sprints at the USA Championships in 2025, then you know by now that both of those races were wild. Between T. Martha McCallum actually making it on Team USA, Trayvon Bromell, and Christian Coleman failing to make it in the 100, the whole Noah Lyles, Kenny Bednarek situation in the 200, like, come on, man. This is not what anybody expected. I mean, granted, we knew that America was fast, and if I had told you that in the USA Championship final for the 100, it would be one of the deepest finals in terms of like 9.92, 9.8, 9.7 sprinters that we've seen in history, like that's within the realm of possibility. But when you add up all that speed for Team USA, and now we know who's going to run individually in the 100 and the 200, it brings us back to the 4x1. Because every time I think about the relay, my head starts to hurt. And when I was watching these USAs wrap up, especially after the 200s were done, my mind started to spin, and I was like, this is going to be a situation. So this is one of those moments where we have to talk about what can we reasonably expect from the American 4x1, specifically on the men's side, in Tokyo this year. Because after everything that went down, we're still going to have to put 4 men out there in a final race. And we know that America has speed. Normally, like historically speaking, we have the best collection of talent to choose from in order to put like fast men out there. I mean, in 2025, I'm sure Jamaica has something to say about it. I mean, those men have been rolling individually. But if you go down the list, at least for Jamaica, they kind of know who their fastest men are, and it's really not a debate. For us, it's a big question mark, because somebody might have beat you by 100th here or 100th there. But do we really want you on our relay? I mean, that's the real discussion. In case you didn't know, Team USA now has a new relay coach on the men's and the women's sides. So with that in mind, there will not be continuity from what we've seen in the past to going here. Considering the men have had struggles, especially in the Olympic Games, a lot of people aren't all that upset about getting a new coach. But it does still bring us to the problem. Who is going to run on the relay? Because who we put in the first round, assuming they run fast enough to get to the final, which is not a safe assumption when you're Team USA, and then who actually runs in the final is likely not going to be the same group. And we're more or less the only nation who's going to have this debate. Like, who gets to run here, who gets to run there. America runs with a relay pool situation. And the only thing that we can assume is that if Noah Lyles wants to run the relay, which I'm going to assume he does, he's probably not going to run the prelim. He's going to run in the final, and when he does, he will be the anchor leg. He tells us that when he runs an anchor leg for Team USA, we do not lose. And historically speaking, he might be right, but he hasn't run the anchor leg much. So, let's have a very real conversation, a brutally honest one about what we can expect in the men's 4x1 from Team USA. Because this nation has screwed up the relay more times than I care to remember, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Because in the last 2 decades, about half of the international relays, actually I think it's more than half. I mean, I've done a whole bunch of videos on it, shared my thoughts, no need to go back on it now. About half of those relays, a little bit more, like 10 or 11 of them, we didn't even get a time. We were disqualified, dropped the stick, or like something happened that ruined the relay. In other words, we beat ourselves because the rest of the world really can't run with us. And if you're looking at the world relays this year, we were there, but we didn't win. So we can't just rinse and repeat that performance if gold is the standard. The first question we have to deal with is who is actually in the relay pool. I'm going to give you all the names that I see, because assembling a relay starts with who are the actual bodies. Looking at the USA Championship final for the 100 and the 200, the names that we know are in the pool are as follows: Kenny Bednarek, Courtney Lindsay, T. Martha McCallum, because all of them win in the 100. You got to add Noah Lyles. You got to add, I guess, Robert Gregory because he made the team in the 200. People like Courtney Lindsay and Kenny Bednarek, we don't have to count them twice. But then when you skip down, you have the people who are in 4th and 5th in the 100. That's going to be Trayvon Bromell, Christian Coleman. For the record, Christian Coleman was also there in the 200, and he wasn't all the way in the back. And then you have the high schooler Maurice Gleaton Jr., who ran 9.92 seconds in the 100. After that, you have Ronnie Baker, who ran the same time, just not all the way down to the thousandths. And you can even throw Arian Knighton in there, who's been dealing with a hamstring injury, which is likely why he didn't finish top 3 in the first place. But either way, technically, that's the pool. But if you're new here, I want to say thank you for even making it this far into the video. And I'm Coach Rob, and if you really want to know what's going on with the fastest athletes in the world, then you are in the right place. And if anything that I say actually connects with you, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe. But if I don't, just let me know in the comment section, because I try to read them all. There are 2 more names that I didn't give you, although I could have. Brandon Hicklin and Kyrie King. Both of them represented at the World Relays. The same World Relay that I already told you did not get gold in the 4x1. But they do train with Dennis Mitchell's training group, which, so you know, he has his hands all over this relay. Because when you count up how many of his athletes are representing for Team USA, whether it's World Relays or in this case going to go over for 2025, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that if they could just train together, that you might be able to assemble a good relay. But hey, it is what it is. So from that point, what are we going to do? Because if we know that Noah Lyles wants to run the anchor leg in the final, but he's not going to run the prelim, we can't just rinse and repeat the same team. You see where I'm going with this? And the best relay we could assemble, like if you're asking me, if I'm the coach and had full authority over the Team USA relay based on all the names I just gave you, I can tell you who my 4 would be. And I'll even tell you what order. And this is what it should look like if they had an opportunity to run races and prepare. I would start off with Christian Coleman still. I'm going to give him that spot. And I would give the stick to Trayvon Bromell as my second leg. From there, I would give it to Kenny Bednarek. And of course, the anchor leg would be Noah Lyles. I honestly think that's the fastest relay we can put together if those men run like a team. But notice I said if those men run like a team, because I'm not entirely sure we want Kenny Bednarek passing a stick to Noah Lyles at this point for Team USA. So even though I think that might be the best relay we got, because if you saw the turn that Kenny Bednarek ran at the USA's in the 200, I want that on my third leg. And for people who don't know, even Usain Bolt used to run third legs earlier in his career. I'm talking like the same Usain Bolt who already had world records. He was running third leg with Asafa Powell on anchor. Just saying. So if that relay is not going to work, what actually will? You could go to the logic of taking our World Relays team and trying to leave it as intact as possible. If you take out Kyrie King and Brandon Hicklin because they just didn't go fast enough at USA's, like that's a viable argument. So if you take them out, you could just keep the first half, Courtney Lindsay to Kenny Bednarek. And if we assume Noah Lyles is going to run the anchor still, you just got to pick up a third leg. But who is it? Because when you look at your actual options now for the third leg, do you want Robert Gregory? Because the turn isn't really his thing in the 200. He only got that third spot because he ran into it in the last few meters of the 200. You can give it to Christian Coleman, and you could give it to Trayvon Bromell, but neither of them really make great sense as a third leg. We all know that their start is by far the most important thing to them in their career. And when you give them the stick on the move, you take that away from them. Trayvon Bromell is a little bit different because he can run on a straight. I don't really see him as a turn runner like that. And Christian Coleman can run turns because his 200s are fast enough. So if you got to pick between them two, I guess you give it to Christian Coleman. But hey, it is what it is. You see how it's not 100% of ideal. The truth of the matter is that it would make more sense to switch things up and now put Courtney Lindsay at third. He makes a lot of sense as a third leg. The only problem is now you got to go back to the leadoff and make a sub again. You can bring Christian Coleman in again, but now we end up with the same Christian Coleman to Kenny Bednarek fiasco that happened at the Olympic Games. Of course they could fix it this time, but I'm not sure America is ready to watch those two men run a relay on the world stage in a final. I mean, hey, if they do it, I'm going to be rooting for them, but I'm going to be holding my breath the entire time. And of course, you could also swap that out with Trayvon Bromell, but now we're doing something we've never done before, again. And after all that, we have to live in the realm of reality, because let us just assume that if you ran the 100 and the 200 and made the team for America, you're likely going to be in the finals for both, like whoever qualified. So let's just assume everybody runs those rounds. We've got Noah, Kenny, and Courtney, who are all supposed to run multiple rounds at 100 and the 200. So they're not going to be running in the first round of the 4x1. Now you need an entirely new team. So what are you going to do? Are Are we going to run one team and then swap them out and then run a team for the final? And if we do run a team, who is going to be on it? Because looking at the names that we have to work with, I'm first going to assume Maurice Gleaton Jr. will not be going to Tokyo. Because when they did not take Christian Miller last year, remember, he was a high school senior, exact same situation, and they didn't select him for the team based on the context of pro experience and relay experience with Team USA. So let's just assume Gleaton is not a part of this. If we're going to run a relay, and we got to do it without those three names I gave you, I guess the pool we got to roll with now is Christian Coleman, Trayvon Bromell, Ronnie Baker, and T. Mars McCallum. But all of those men, all of them, are better starters than anything else. T. Mars McCallum has run anchor legs for the University of Tennessee and been very successful doing it this year. But do you really think he belongs as an anchor with that group? I mean, you could, but that's all up in the air. And the other three men are all known for their talent in the 60-meter dash leading into the 100. So now you have three starters. That's what you have. And you've got to put them on different legs. Again, we could do it, and it's still a decent problem to have. But this is a group that has never run a relay together as far as I can tell. Certainly not with T. Mars McCallum. And now you're going to put them in a world championship prelim where they have to run fast enough to get to the final. Because in 2021, Team USA went to the Olympics and didn't make the final for no other reason than because we ran slow in the first round. Because we threw a bunch of guys out there who've never competed together. And even though they're fast, they just weren't fast enough to compensate for very below average baton passes. Every other nation who didn't have the speed, they didn't need it, as long as America was going to beat themselves. So the fact of the matter is, no matter which way you look at this situation, for the men's 4x1, this is a mess. I thought about making a video for the women, and even though they have a new relay coach as well, at the very least, all four women who ran in the Olympic final for 2024 are technically in the relay pool again for 2025. So if you just want to run it back with the exact same group, you could. And that gives me way more confidence than we have to slap something brand new together. Again, for the men, whichever way you want to do it, this situation is looking like a mess. If I were in control of Team USA's relay, which I am not, the thing that I would do is start borrowing from other Team USA's. Like, look at how they assemble a team. And for USA basketball, which is a very different situation, they actually have a select team that helps the real team prepare. So considering that our 4x1 is not going to really run races before they get to the Worlds, if there was a way to do it on the calendar where you could do like a select camp, where you invite some additional sprinters to help you prepare to go over there to compete at the Worlds. Do it like a weekend. It could be a 2-day camp for all I care. Have a practice day and a competition day. And in the competition day, you're going to run at least 2 4x1s, with time in between. But that select team, more or less, you can do it a few ways. Ideally, you'd want to pick college teams that have enough Americans that they could rinse and repeat, that have run 4x1s earlier this year. Get a few of them to fly out, maybe 1, 2, or 3 of them. Drop them in some lanes and let them go at it with the guys who you're going to assemble as your relays. Making them run under pressure with people who actually want to beat them, even in a practice setting, but like competitive. I mean, you could live stream it because, hey, trust me, I would tune in to watch that, even if it was just on an iPhone. Regardless, that would help these guys prepare and actually work out the kinks, like competitively doing so. If that's too much work, then just go look at who we had at the USA's, pull people out of the 100-meter semifinals or the fringe people at the back of the finals and the back of the 200 final and things like that. Put those guys together, make some additional relays, and again, have a practice day, a competition day, again, a select team that goes up against the real team to help them get ready. The select team doesn't need to be as good as the real team. That's not the point. When Team USA basketball does it, they more or less get guys who are in the younger half of their NBA careers, probably first 3 seasons. Many of them have never even been all-stars. They're just there to compete because it's a privilege for them to go up against Team USA because that's where they want to be one day. And that's fine. But the number one most important thing is that we know we have enough speed with all the men that we can assemble on a relay. The problem that Team USA will always face is can they get those men to work together long enough in order to actually run the relay well? Because the relay is a relationship. That's just what it is. There's always a relationship between who's giving the stick and who's getting it. When relationships start to break down, like Kenny Bednarek and Noah Lyles, because I think the entire track and field world now knows that they are not close friends, it does make it hard for you to run together. Fred Curley told us on the Pivot podcast, Team USA is not a team. We're competing against each other all the time. Even when we're running the 100 and the 200. The only time they become a team is during the relay. And that moment is only supposed to last less than 40 seconds. Actually, less than 38 if they're doing it right. But I have no idea what's going to happen when we get to Tokyo this year. All I know is that America is going to send over one of the fastest collections of men that any nation in the world has. And that group is going to be expected to come back with gold. How they get it done doesn't matter. But they do need to get it done. Because if they don't, anything less than gold will be a failure for Team USA. In the sport of track and field, race day is honestly the easy part. Because all of the real work gets put in when nobody is watching. When you wear every day is training day gear, you can let the whole world know that your success in competition is not an accident. Order yours at scarecruiting.com/shop or use the link in the description below, and it always comes with free shipping. It's a huge support to me and this channel, so I can continue to make you more content like this. And remember, it is always greatly appreciated if you would please like and subscribe.